Joe Budd from Greenway Parks. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update from the 24th of April, 2025. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. Last week, we reported that the EU is working on a bill that would make it easier to suspend visa-free travel with non-member countries. Right now, that requirement is a unanimous decision. That requires a unanimous decision by all member states. And if the law passes, only a majority vote would be needed. This news became the major talking point in Georgian politics this week. Georgian Dream, or the Kotsebi, see the bill as a serious threat. Kachi Kaladze, Tbilisi mayor and party secretary, called the threat of visa-free travel suspension a blackmail tactic by the EU, just like the conditions for candidate status. The rest of the party shares that view. Zourabishvili, Speaker of Parliament, says he doesn't think the threat will be carried out and tried to downplay the importance of visa-free travel anyway, saying national interests came first. Gogi Gacharia, former member of the Kotsebi and now an opposition leader, says that the ruling party is preparing the public for the possibility of the suspension of visa-free travel, which will indeed happen. Following the news of Pope Francis's passing on Monday the 21st, Georgian politicians were quick to express their condolences. Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze wrote on Twitter that Pope Francis left a legacy of peace, compassion, and unity, which he hopes will be continued by his successor. Zourabishvili also made a rare public statement with words almost precisely identical to Kobakhidze's. President Zourabishvili recalled her visit to the Vatican in an official capacity and her work with Pope Francis on strengthening cultural ties between the two countries. While on the topic of Zourabishvili, a Russian phone pranker recently talked to her on the phone pretending to be Gary Kasparov, a Russian dissident. In the video that the prankster released, they asked Zourabishvili about the ongoing protests in Georgia, trying to unveil some grand conspiracy theory by the West. However, the information Zourabishvili provided was nothing new. Pranksters tried to make Zourabishvili say that the only solution to the current situation would be a repeat of Ukraine's Maidan scenario, which is always the term that Russians use for that, letting violence erupt in the streets. Zourabishvili quickly shut this suggestion down, saying Georgia is a small country and in many aspects different from Ukraine, so there are neither resources, conditions, nor desire to have that scenario play out. Speaking of the ongoing protests, demonstrators are still getting fined for blocking the road on Rustaveli Avenue where the parliament is located. Fine of 5,000 lari, about $1,800 for blocking a road, has basically become the regime's main way to scare people off from joining the protest, since it's several times higher than the average monthly income in Georgia. This week, a few protesters said they got text messages saying their cars were fined for blocking the road. But here's the nutty part. They don't own cars. When they contacted the Ministry of Internal Affairs, they were told that they were fined for blocking the road, but the car was just a mistake. Turns out the police used the wrong template to send the fine notice. Before, police had to hand-deliver physical letters of notice, but they now switched to phone messages to, save it, and we quote, to save resources and time. Next up, Salmonella was detected in a large shipment of frozen chicken imported from Germany and Egypt. The contaminated products were discovered during routine border and quarantine control procedures on Thursday the 17th at the port of Poti in western Georgia. Laboratory analysts confirmed the presence of the pathogen in samples taken from a 27,000-kilo shipment. As a result, the entire batch of chicken was returned to the exporting countries. Related inspection authorities also stopped a shipment of sweet potatoes where 70% of the cargo was found unfit for consumption and destroyed. Whether or not opposition should participate in municipal elections in October remain a hotly contested topic. On Thursday the 17th, Gigi Ugulava, former mayor of Tbilisi under the United National Movement, or the Natsebi, wrote on his Facebook page that regardless of whether the answer is yes or no, the opposition should be united in the decision, otherwise it risks legitimizing the rule of the Kotsebi without getting anything in return. He proposed conditions under which the opposition could consider participating. This includes releasing all political prisoners, including Misha Saakashvili, repealing all repressive laws that were adopted after the protests started, and holding a referendum during municipal elections regarding setting new parliamentary elections. On Tuesday the 22nd, the Ministry of Justice approved a request by the pro-Russian far right-wing movement Alt-Info to register as a party. They also changed their name and are now called the Conservative Movement. They used to have a party under the old name, but the Ministry of Justice canceled their registration in 2021, officially due to problems with their documentation. Alt-Info is known for organizing violent protests against the LGBTQ movement in Georgia, which attempted to organize pride events several times. One of those protests resulted in the death of a journalist. In economics, the National Statistics Office has published trade data for the first quarter of the year. In terms of exports, Georgia's top three partners are Kyrgyzstan, Russian and Chinese transshipment, Kazakhstan, Russian and Chinese transshipment, and Azerbaijan, with over $600 million worth of goods exported to these countries between January and March. Russia remains a critical market for Georgia. However, exports to Russia have declined by almost 20% compared to the same period last year, while imports from Russia have increased by nearly 20%. The U.S. ranks first in imports with over $650 million worth of goods imported to Georgia. Turkey follows in second place with $580 million, and Russia comes in third with $510 million. On a related note, the World Bank expects Georgia's economy to grow by 5.5% in 2025 and 5% in 2026, slightly cut the year's previous forecast by 0.5%. The reason for the change is a drop in money transfers of remittances for the second year in a row, mostly due to a 70% decrease in money coming in from Russia. Also points out slowing export growth, partly because of weaker demand in the region. World Bank report says that while Georgia has boosted its position in 2022 as a re-export hub, especially for used cars heading to Central Asia and the South Caucasus, that growth is now cooling off. Despite these challenges, the country is still expected to see solid overall growth compared to regional trends. Zourabishvili, the world-famous but polarizing Georgian sculptor and architect known for his massive monuments and long association with Russian political elites, passed away on Tuesday the 22nd at the age of 91. His most recognized pieces include Peter the Great statue in Moscow and St. George statue in Tbilisi's Freedom Square. Tsereteli was president of the Russian Academy of Arts for over a decade and was a prominent figure in the public art scene across Russia and Georgia. His work often sparked debate due to its scale and style and his own political affiliations. Despite criticism, he made a consistent presence in the art world that was tough to ignore. Cultural news. Testament 22, Byron Smith's award-winning photo exhibition, opens on the 4th of May. The art gallery Hermit Space features images from his 16,000 kilometer or 10,000-mile journey across war-torn Ukraine, with his camera capturing the resilience and pain of a nation during Russia's invasion. Inspired by Ukraine's poet Taras Shevchenko, the work includes portraits of survivors and essays by Igor Kosov, a journalist, and the news outlet Kyiv Independent. Want to know more? Link in the show notes. If you're looking for a Georgian movie to watch, Paste magazine has recently published Brianna Ziegler's glowing review of Dea Kulumbegashvili's April Is, which is the director's second feature. The story follows a rural doctor in Georgia who secretly performs abortions and offers birth control in a deeply conservative society. According to the review, the film is a critique of how tradition, patriarchy, and limited access to healthcare impact women's lives, not only in Georgia, but everywhere in the world. To read the full review, link in the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. If you got any feedback, send us an email at info@rorschach.com. Help us make our updates better. Nachwandis.